President Xi Jinping and international dignitaries are shaking hands with a 99-year-old veteran, 100-year-old veteran from the 8th Route Army, 94-year-old veteran from the 8th Route Army, 102-year-old veteran from the new 8th Route Army, and from South China Guerrilla Force, 100-year-old veteran from the Kuomintang.
This is my video update on this Wednesday afternoon, September the 3rd, coming to you from Athens, Greece. Let's talk about some news. And I am going to start things off with some breaking news courtesy of the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. This is some big news. Some shocking news, and I don't like it. And it is coming from Trump in an interview that he gave yesterday. And I still can't believe what the US president said about Russian President Vladimir Putin. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Trump said yesterday during this interview via phone, he said, and I quote, "I am very disappointed with Putin."
I'm very disappointed in him. He and I always had a great relationship. I'm very disappointed.
Is this not the biggest news of the year? I can't believe it. I can't believe Trump said that he's disappointed with Putin. I never, ever in a million years thought I would hear Trump say that he's disappointed with Putin. Absolutely shocking news, a shocking statement from the US president. And he said in this interview that he's going to do something about Project Ukraine. That's what he hinted at during this interview. He is going to make some big decisions and to do something about Project Ukraine. And he's very disappointed with the Russian president. If only Trump knew someone in a position of power in the United States, someone or some people at the Pentagon or the CIA or at the State Department, if only he knew some people very high up in the government of the United States who could, I don't know, maybe stop the money from flowing to the Zelensky regime, maybe stop the weapons flow, then we would have an end to the conflict in Ukraine. If only Trump had those connections. But I just don't think he knows people that high up in the US government. I don't think he has that much power to contact the decision makers who would be able to put an end to this proxy war, who would stop the money and the weapons, which would then force the Zelensky regime to seek peace with Russia. I just don't think he has those connections. Anyway, that is what Trump said. And then Trump, the White House, they were hinting during the day at some big announcement that was going to take place. It was going to take place around 2 p.m. East Coast time, DC time, and everyone was wondering what is going to be this big announcement. What is Trump going to say? So they were teasing this all morning, that Trump is going to make some big announcement from the White House. And 2 p.m. rolled around, and Trump was a no-show. And then about an hour later, we got the the statements from Trump, the press conference from Trump. And what did Trump announce? Everyone was thinking he's going to announce something connected to Project Ukraine, or a lot of people were speculating that he was going to announce some big military action against Venezuela. There's like 7 warships now, right off the coast of Venezuela, or in the proximity of Venezuela. So a lot of people were thinking maybe he's going to announce some sort of military action or something connected to Venezuela. And what did Trump announce? He announced a lot of small announcements, right? Not insignificant announcements, but nothing that warranted the teasing of some big announcement today at the White House in the Oval Office. So it was a bunch of smaller news policy announcements. For example, he said that that most likely the National Guard, like what happened in DC, was going to happen in Chicago. He said that we're going to be going into Chicago. He didn't give a timeline for it, but he said that. He also announced that the U.S. was moving the Space Force offices, I believe, to Alabama, I want to say. Something like that. The Space Force offices or something, the headquarters were going to move to Alabama or Arkansas. I forgot what state, but he announced that. He also said that the U.S. is going to be moving forward with a Golden Dome, like Israel's Iron Dome, which completely fell apart during the 12-day war anyway. Trump is now saying that the U.S. is going to build a Golden Dome. He said that he's disappointed in Putin. I believe he did say that. I think he said he's disappointed with Putin again. I'm not sure. But he did say that when he was asked about China and everything that's going on in China with the World War II events, Trump said that he made some statements along the lines of China. He gets along with Xi, but China needs the United States more than the United States needs China. Anyway, he said something along those lines. And then he said he has a really good relationship with Putin, but he's disappointed in him, or something's going to change, or I forgot the exact statement that he made. He also said that he knows a secret about Putin or Russia, which was a weird comment. But he says he doesn't want to say what it is.
With President Putin in the past week, have you spoken with President Putin?
Yeah, I don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Did Putin finally convince Trump of the reality of what is going on in the conflict in Ukraine? Is Trump finally ready to believe the truth about the conflict in Ukraine? I don't know. Is that what he's alluding to, or is he saying that he learned something about Putin or about Russia that he's going to announce next week? I don't know. I didn't really get where he was going with all of that, to be quite honest. You know, it was a press conference. I don't think they needed to promote it as some big event, the White House. So it led me to believe that the reason that they hyped this up, even though they didn't really have any big announcement to make, was because they wanted to get Trump in front of the American people and in front of the media, because of all of the crazy rumors. I think they're crazy rumors of something happening to Trump, of Trump being ill or Trump passing away. I talked about those rumors 2-3 days ago. And I think they wanted to just get Trump in front of the media and in front of the American people. And they gave him 5 or 6 news items to announce. And that was the purpose of this press conference. That was it. I think the most interesting thing that he said was where he mentioned that he knows some secret about Ukraine or Putin or Russia, but he doesn't want to tell anyone just yet. He said, we'll find out what it is next week. So who knows? Who knows what it is? But next week he's going to probably forget about what he said yesterday. Anyway, later on in the day, as the events in China were wrapping up, the amazing, and it really was an amazing military parade in Beijing as those events were wrapping up, with Putin there and Kim Jong-un there, and most of the global majority, the global South, many of the leaders of the global South showed up. Actually, the president of Indonesia showed up, from what I understand. I've seen photos of the president of Indonesia. He actually showed up at this event, even though there is, in my opinion, a color revolution regime change that is trying to take hold in his country. The reports claim that he managed to get out of the country unnoticed for the day, and I think he's back in Indonesia now. So he made it for one day, attended the events, and then got back to Indonesia so that he could deal with the protests that are taking place in Indonesia. So a lot of world leaders in China to check out what was an amazing military parade hosted by Xi Jinping, and Trump was not there, and the U.S. president was not there. He could have been there, no doubt about it, if he had said, "Yeah, I'd like to be in China to celebrate this event." I have no doubt whatsoever that China would have invited Trump, and he would have been a guest of honor alongside Putin. It would have been Putin, Xi, Trump, and Kim from North Korea. Can you imagine that? That's how it should have been, but unfortunately, the neocons would not allow Trump to go to China, and this upset Trump, and it upset him to the point where he posted a very bitter, and I would say unnecessary, maybe even nasty message on Truth Social. This is what Trump posted. The big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help it to secure its freedom, in all caps, from a very unfriendly foreign invader. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope that they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice. May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump. First of all, notice how he doesn't mention the country that attacked China. He doesn't want to say which country that is. Anyway, he talks about Putin and Kim and China and Xi hanging out and conspiring against the United States of America. Oh my God. How come you could not just post on Truth Social, congratulations to Xi Jinping, to my friend Xi Jinping and the people of China on this great day, on this day of remembrance and celebration? The United States remains your friend. How come you couldn't post something like that, man? I just made that up right now, by the way. How come you just could not post that? Why did you have to post this? Why did you have to post this? Why did you have to say that the Chinese, that China, that Russia, and that North Korea, they're conspiring? Why? Why? Oh my God. Oh man. Conspire. The definition of conspire: to plot, to plan or plot secretly That's the definition of conspire. Did it look like that? Did it look like that Putin, Kim, and Xi were plotting secretly? Did it look like that in front of all the cameras, in front of 100,000 people in attendance or 300,000 people in attendance? Did it look like they were conspiring against the United States during the World War II event? I didn't really get that feeling. If there was one word that did not come to mind as I was watching the events yesterday, it was conspiring. Conspiring against the United States. That didn't cross my mind as I was watching the televised broadcast on the internet for the entire world World War II event in Beijing. No, it wasn't conspiring. U.S. President Trump. Sorry, that's not what was going on. Actually, the entire week, the World War II event, the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization event, there was nothing secret or plotting about anything that happened over the past week. Everything was done pretty much in a public forum. Of course, you have to have meetings which are private. That's a given in any diplomatic setting. You're going to have meetings which are off camera, but for the most part, the entire event, most of the event, outside of the private meetings that were taking place, most of the event was broadcast on the internet, was public. There were press conferences, there were statements from world leaders, there were speeches from world leaders. There was a communique that was published, documents that was published. The communique actually even says what was agreed on. So tell me, how was any of what we saw private or secret? Oh, man. So yeah, Trump should have been there. He should have been there. He realizes that he should have been there. He realizes that this was a huge diplomatic, geopolitical mistake. He realizes that he's not part of the multipolar world. He's not taking part in shaping the multipolar world, and he's bitter. He's bitter and he's upset and he's jealous, right? Because he wasn't there. And what we saw in China was history. It was historic. And the United States was not present. And they were not present for petty, stupid neocon reasons. That's why the United States was not there. Because of the neocons and the neocon foreign policy and the unipolar world and hegemony and all of these things, right? So he got on Truth Social and he made what will be considered a horrific, ill-judged post on social media, which will remain on social media, on the internet, forever, right? And so in Paris on September 4th, Trump might show up to the Coalition of the Willing meeting, might. I believe the New York Times is saying right now that the Trump White House is probably not going to show up. But what is the Coalition of the Willing? What kind of meeting are they going to have? What kind of event are they going to hold? It's going to be all about Ukraine, and it's going to be about money and weapons. Russia bad, China bad, North Korea bad, Iran bad. We need regime change in all these countries. Let's give money and weapons to Zelensky. That's going to be the meeting. Just like every collective West meeting or summit or event, every single one over the past 3-4 years, whether it was Biden or whether it's Trump now, every single meeting is all about the same freaking thing. Give me money, give me weapons. Zelensky comes into town, rolls into town, and he says, give me money, give me weapons. Okay, here's 50 billion, here's 100 billion, here's 20 billion. What we saw a couple of days ago was real diplomacy. That's what we saw, real diplomacy in action. So anyway, that was, that was Trump's post on X. Let's see, what else? What else should we discuss here? I don't know who. I wonder if someone checks the posts that he makes, or is he just allowed to post without running it through any communications department or anything like that? The posts that he makes really should get an approval, a second reading from a social media or communication specialist. They really should have someone read the post before it goes live, just to read it and say, Mr. President, are you sure you want to post that? Are you sure? Maybe you want to read it again just to make sure that you really want the world to read this message of yours forever and ever and ever. Yeah. So the president of Finland, Mr. Stubb, he said that that Finland won the war with the USSR. That is what he said in an interview with The Economist. And he insisted that maintaining sovereignty in the face of Soviet demands proved Finland's resilience and should be viewed as a model of survival. All right, I'm not going to get into the history of the USSR and Finland, the war between the USSR and Finland. But the reason that Stubb is throwing this out there is really sinister. The reason he's saying this to The Economist is because he wants to basically say that Ukraine should continue to fight. Ukraine should not seek any kind of peace. They should not negotiate with Russia. They should not accept Istanbul Plus, June 2024 root causes. They should continue to fight. That is the reason he is making this statement. He's saying, you see, Finland, we fought the Soviets and we won, which they didn't. But anyway, he's saying we won. So if we did it, because we withstood the Soviets, Zelensky and Ukraine, they need to continue to fight against the Russians. And they will also win. If they continue to fight, they will also win. So they need to keep fighting. So we need to keep on giving them money and weapons. That's the reason Stubb is making this statement. It's very sinister. He does not care about Ukraine or the Ukrainian people or about peace. His agenda is to keep the war going. And he's using revisionist history of World War II and of Finland in order to make the case that the war needs to continue for Ukraine. The ambassador, he's the ambassador of NATO. What a ridiculous position. The U.S. ambassador to NATO, right? Like NATO is a country, as if NATO's some sort of country. Anyway, Whitaker, that's the dude's name. Mr. Whitaker, he was at an event in Slovenia. And what Whitaker said is that the European states, they need to pick up the slack and help Ukraine fight Russia. Because right now, according to Whitaker, the Europeans, they are showing no political will. And he's saying that the Europeans are constantly waiting on the Americans. They want the Americans to enter the conflict. They want the Americans to place sanctions. They want the Americans to give money and weapons. And they're always waiting on the Americans. And they don't have the political will or the strength to just do things on their own without the United States of America. That is what Whitaker said. Let me find you his quote. I think it's very naive to believe that the United States can decree that the fighting stop and that somehow Russia or Ukraine, either side, will stop the fighting, Whitaker said. No, that's not naive, Mr. Whitaker. Actually, if the United States decided to stop the money and the weapons to Project Ukraine, being this is a U.S. coalition proxy war, then the war would come to a conclusion. So yes, the U.S. can, in a way, decree that the war ends by just stopping the support for the Green Goblin. But anyway, Whitaker continues. He criticized NATO for its lack of political will and reluctance to take any major steps without American involvement. The United States has contributed just over half of the military aid which has been sent to Ukraine, he noted. The elephant in the room is that there's no political will among our allies to do what it takes to stop this war. All the NATO allies, Whitaker added. Europe could put troops in, but nobody's willing to do that. Because Europe doesn't have the troops, man. Europe's been demilitarized, Mr. Ambassador to NATO Whitaker. It's been demilitarized. It's been deindustrialized. Europe has no weapons. They have no troops to send to Ukraine. Without the United States, there is no European military. So of course they need the United States to go into Ukraine. They're not going to go into Ukraine without the United States. What are they going to go into Ukraine with? Estonia is going to send what? Their three soldiers that they have, or 4 soldiers? I don't know how many soldiers does Estonia have to send to Ukraine? 4 or 5? Lithuania probably has 5 or 6. What does the UK have? What does the UK have? 25 tanks, Alexander says, or 40 tanks? Believe me, if NATO, without the United States, could go into Ukraine and they felt they could defeat Russia, they would have done it a long freaking time ago. If NATO with the United States, if they felt that they could go into Ukraine and defeat Russia, they would have done it on day one. They would have done it on February 25th, February 26th. They would have been in Ukraine if they thought that they had a chance of defeating Russia. But they realized that they could not defeat Russia. And so they built up the proxy. That's the reason they built up the proxy, is because they didn't want to go into Ukraine because they knew that they would not win. Anyway, that was Whitaker. What else? The New York Post is reporting that the U.S. wants Europe to stop buying Russian oil and join proposed sanctions, according to a White House official. Yeah, the United States is telling Europe to stop buying Russian energy. And you know what? Europe's going to do it. If the United States places sanctions on Russia, and Trump is very close to placing sanctions on Russia, if he does that, the United States is going to say, okay, we've placed bone-crushing sanctions or 100% secondary tariff sanctions on Russia and China and India. We've done it. We did it, Europe. Now it's your turn. Europe's going to do it. Europe's going to stop buying Russian energy. It's going to completely demolish Europe's economies, but I don't think the Europeans really care, do they? I really think they don't care. They just want to see the United States take the first step. Kind of like what Whitaker was saying, right? The Europeans, they won't do anything without the United States. Can't do anything without the United States. What is Europe going to do without the United States, man? That's why it's called a vassal. Anyway, the UK Defense Minister, John Healey, he showed up in Kiev today. The UK Defense Secretary, John Healey. Excuse me, he's not a defense minister. He's a secretary of defense. Yeah, John Healey, he showed up in Kiev via train. Those trains are still arriving in Kiev, and this is trouble. This is trouble because when the UK shows up in Kiev, when UK officials show up in Kiev, what's the pattern? The pattern is that we usually have some sort of plotting and secret planning, conspiring. We usually have some sort of conspiring taking place when the UK is in Kiev. So no doubt about it, Healey is there to organize something, something against Russia. That's always the case, always happens when the UK is in Kiev. Keep in mind that we have, a couple of days ago, we have Zelensky saying that Ukraine is ready to fire the Flamingo long-range missile into Russia, and they've got everything ready to go. They even have their targets. Keep in mind that the Flamingo missile is not, as Zelensky claims, manufactured in Ukraine. The expert analysis on this missile is that it is a UK missile that is most likely sent to Ukraine as a kit. And what happens in Ukraine is that they just put it together. They just assemble the kit. But the actual missile, all of it is pretty much manufactured in, I don't know if it's in the UK, but it's a UK company. Anyway, so you have the UK long-range missile, which does have a long range. I believe it's 3,000 kilometers, but it's big. It's big. It's slow. My understanding is that it flies very, very high, so it shouldn't be a problem for Russian air defense, but it does have a very long range. And there is the risk that it does manage to get through. No air defense is 100%. And so you have Zelensky talking about long-range missile strikes are coming. You have the UK missile, and lo and behold, you have the Secretary of Defense for the UK showing up in Kiev. My guess, and it's just a guess, is that he's there to give the final okay, to put the final touches on what will most likely be some sort of a long-range missile attack into Russia. That would just be my guess, but something else could be going on. Let's move on. Let's move on now and talk about Germany. Can you guys believe that we now have 7 AfD candidates, politicians candidates for the region of North NRW, of North Rhine-Westphalia. 7 deaths now. Yesterday it was 6. Now it's 7. This one sounds more believable, I guess, if you could use those words. And I'm reading you from Welt, which is German mainstream media, not a friend of AfD. And they're now reporting on this story. By the way, I'm seeing this story pop up on U.S. mainstream media outlets like the New York Post as well. So this story is not hidden anymore. Anyway, Welt is reporting that an 80-year-old died of natural causes after a long illness, bringing the tally to 7 deaths for the NRW elections. Welt said the AfD Regional Association of North Rhine-Westphalia now records 7 deaths of candidates in local elections. In addition to the 6 already known cases, there is now Hans-Joachim Kind, a direct candidate in Kremenhol, a district in the south of Remscheid. The AfD Remscheid confirmed this to the news magazine Politico. The 80-year-old died of natural causes after a long illness. In Kremenhol, too, the ballot papers now have to be reprinted. Postal voters have to re-elect. 7 AfD deaths. 7 deaths from one party in about 2.5 weeks from one region. My understanding of North Rhine-Westphalia is that it's a very important region. I think it's a stronghold, or it was once upon a time. It was a stronghold for the CDU, CSU, Mertz's party. I could be wrong about this, but this is my understanding of things. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But this is a stronghold of the CDU, CSU. The fear is that AfD is going to gain a lot of ground, and this would be devastating for Merz. And we're talking about a population of 18 million, I want to say. in this very important region of Germany, which will have elections. So one region, 7 deaths from one party in the span of 2 weeks and change. Come on, come on, man. What are the chances of that happening? Come on. Come on. Oh, man. So, in France, a plant closed down, a Michelin plant closed down in Vannes, France. About 300 people are going to be losing their jobs, or maybe even more than that. Maybe more than 300. Maybe 600. 650, I think, are losing their jobs from the Michelin plant closing down in France. Someone is playing some loud music, so I gotta walk away. Music is always a problem when recording outdoors. So this is once again a sign of the decay of the French economy. The catastrophic presidency and administration of little Napoleon Macron and his prime minister Bayrou. And it's a good thing that Macron is going to be playing Napoleon. He's going to be doing some acting as Napoleon on September 4th during the Coalition of the Willing event, rather than focusing on the problems of France and the closing down of this factory. Macron is going to place his energy and attention on Zelensky, right? Yeah, he's going to place his energy and attention on Zelensky. Got to hug the Green Goblin, get a whiff of that Zelensky number 5. If you're Macron, you got to get a hit of that Zelensky number 5. Geez, what is going on? I feel like this music is following me. Man. Anyway, hopefully I can put a high enough noise gate or something to block out the music. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to re-record this video. So yeah, Macron, he is going to be focusing on Project Ukraine instead of focusing on France as factories shut down. So let's weird. So weird. Let's get to a clown world and we can wrap this video up. This water's hot. Got hot in the sun. So yesterday I talked about the GPS Bulgaria thing with Ursula, and how Flight Radar 24 managed to debunk her claim that she was in a holding pattern. Her plane was in a holding pattern for 1 hour over Bulgaria and all of that nonsense because Russia was jamming the GPS. Anyway, I talked about this in my video update yesterday. It looks like the Bulgarian authorities, they've decided to not investigate this matter. Big surprise. What a shocking, big surprise. Yep, Bulgaria is going to just let this one go. Just let it go, man. No need to investigate this. If Ursula says that Russia jammed the plane, then you know, they jammed the GPS, jammed the plane. We had to land with paper maps. Just let's not investigate this. Let's just forget about it. So yeah, very Very disappointing from Bulgaria, from the authorities in Bulgaria. You would think that such a lie that has been exposed by facts, by receipts, by facts, by data, you would think that Bulgaria would at least take a look at the claims that Ursula made with regards to GPS, Russian GPS jamming in Bulgaria. You would think that the allegation that another country is jamming your GPS, an allegation made by the president of the European Union, would warrant, at a minimum, an investigation. But nah, nah. Just let it go, man. Just let it go. Anyway, let's do one more Clown World, and we will wrap this up with Lindsey Graham. Yep, Lindsey Graham, who is very upset with Norway. Yeah, he's upset with Norway because their sovereign wealth fund will not do business with Caterpillar, because Caterpillar provides the equipment for Israel, and the destruction of Gaza is, a lot of it is using Caterpillar. And so Lindsey Graham is upset that Norway is now cutting off Caterpillar. And this is what he posted on X. To those who run Norway's sovereign wealth fund, if you cannot do business with Caterpillar because Israel uses their products, maybe it's time you're made aware that doing business or visiting America is a privilege, not a right. Maybe it's time to put tariffs on countries who refuse to do business with great American companies. Or maybe we shouldn't give visas to individuals who run organizations that attempt to punish American companies for geopolitical differences. I would urge you to reconsider your short-sighted decision. Lindsey Graham is saying to Norway that the United States should punish Norway. The United States should punish Norway because it's basing these decisions on geopolitics. Maybe we shouldn't give visas to individuals who run organizations that attempt to punish American companies for geopolitical differences. Don't give visas to people in companies that punish American companies, people in organizations that punish American companies for geopolitical differences. This is coming from Lindsey Graham, everybody. Talk about projection. This is coming from Lindsey Graham from the United States of America, that has just banned the visas, blocked the visas of Palestinian representatives from attending the United Nations. And he's talking about punishing people in organizations for geopolitical differences, for geopolitics. Really? Really, Senator Graham? You really want to go there? He's going there. He's going there. Yeah. Lindsey Graham, and they wonder why are all these countries in China attending the SCO meeting and attending BRICS meetings? Why are they there? What have we done to push them towards the multipolar world? I don't know. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. theduran.locals.com. We're on X. We're on Rumble. And check out the Duran shop. Pick up some merch.